talk to me a little bit more about your life as. So you talked about kind of your journey to Islam and structured thinking. So that was kind of revolutionary for you. Talk about being black then also in the South, and what was that experience like, and how was that connected to Islam?
Well, what happened, I wasn't raised here in the South. My mother and father, after they moved to California, later on they got a divorce. So when I moved back down here with my grandmother and grandfather, that's why it's rather difficult, because I didn't learn how to think until I was with my grandmother and grandfather. I don't think of it as in the way you asked in the question, because I wasn't raised in the South. I was born in the South, but I wasn't raised in the South.
So how was the transition like coming back to the South then? Going from living in California to now coming to the South?
Well, that was not my choice. That was because my mother and father separated, and my father had to work, and it was easy for us to be around my grandmother and grandfather because they lived on like a farm, and they were in a better position to help raise us. We were basically raised by my grandmother and grandfather. So I didn't understand it probably in the way Imam Haqq understand it, because I was not raised here. And going to school down here, we only went to school down here for about 4 years. And then we went back to California again. So there's a lot of, it's like a gumbo. My frame of mind and the way I think is mixed up with so many different things that sometimes I make jokes when I tell people, sometimes I speak both languages. I speak the proper language of being raised in California, and then there are other times that I speak the Southern language, and those two parts are mixed up in me, so that I didn't think of it in being in the South, and just in that general sense of the word. Now I do understand what you're asking me, because it's actually two different worlds. When we came down here to stay, we were under the guidance of my grandmother and grandfather. And my grandfather was a well-educated man. He was self-educated, and that changed me, because he would talk things that I wasn't used to hearing. And he was raising cows. He was self-taught in worldly knowledge, but he was a very basic man in understanding natural things. So there's a mix-up in how I was raised, and that being around my grandmother and grandfather, they taught me to understand the natural things in life. In a way that when we moved back down here, I had never been around cows and so on and so forth, and being in the woods, and that changed me. It changed me. So I wasn't introduced to the natural life or the fitra life until we moved back down here. Then I had to, but I was the oldest in the family, and I had to adjust myself to what I was being exposed to down here. Brother Haqq was born and raised here, so he has a more natural way of thinking, even than I do at times. because he's been here all his life. But I had not been here all my life. And when I think there's different things that come out of me at different times, being raised in the city that he never experienced. And I was raised in California, what they call it right now, Watts, California. That was a part of Los Angeles. That was just only city life. So there different things that would come out of me. That's one reason why when I actually moved back down here, back to Louisiana, I started going to the masjid in New Orleans, but I decided that I liked being over here better than I did in New Orleans, because New Orleans reminded me too much of the life that I had tried to get away from, of the city life. And I like this over here, the country life. So there's some basic things that I like over here, that it allowed me to think as in a natural way that you can't think in a city way. So that's why I like being over here, because I like the atmosphere and the environment of this mosque over here. And that is why he and I are close as we are now, because when I finally realized in my life that I really liked this way of living, I was grown. And the things that I actually used to develop in my life came through al-Islam. And this is a subject that's difficult to me to deal with, not emotionally, but because it's a mix of so many different things. It's no one thing that I experienced in my life. I got it mixed up in 2-3 different things, because when we moved back down here from California the first time, we were only here for 4 years. Speaking of the high school that he's speaking of, we were only here for 4 years. Then all of a sudden my father got married again. Then we moved back to California, to San Francisco, California, back to the life, to the big city life, so to speak. And I didn't like that.
So what didn't you like about living in California and Watts?
What did I like?
What did you like and what didn't you like?
Well, the things that I was liking was not good for me.
Okay.
Because we were being raised to be some very mischievous children. So to answer that question, it's not going to be an answer that you think. The things that I like, I shouldn't have liked. Because we were being raised to be very mischievous, in trouble all the time. And that is why moving down here with my grandmother and grandfather, even though it was at that time, when we first did it, there were some things you asked about the question of liking and not liking. There was some things, some ways that I didn't like, but then I found out later on it was good for me. It was helping me to structure. The reason why I use the term structure, it was helping me to think in a structured manner and to value life, because my grandfather raised cows and he raised different things. Then when I got involved in that, then at first I didn't like it. Then after I began to see what kind of person it was helping me to become, then I liked it. So then moving back and forth to different parts of the country, back and forth to many places. Like Imam Haqq was born and raised here. He can give more of a complete story than I can. But my story is mixed up with so many things that it makes it difficult for me to be interviewed, because it makes me, I have to switch back and forth, because there were so many different places, so many things that I was exposed to. Like you were asking the question, what did I like about California and what I didn't like. And in that conversation, I had to switch back and forth, because unless it's a book type interview where it can be more complete, my conversation is fractionalized, because that's the way my childhood was.